Welcome to the Ambient iPad. In this video, it's the Mellotron meets the Boss DC-2w Dimension C modulation pedal. This is a great pedal. It recreates Boss's pedal from the early 80s. That was the Dimension C. But it also has in here a switch right on the front here, so you can go to the 320, which was the Dimension C rack mount unit. That has a little more of a hi-fi sound. Now, I'll be recording using screen recording, but I am using GarageBand. But since I want to highlight this effect and nothing else, I'm just using GarageBand mainly as a recording device, although I will be running the Gauss looper as well to do some sound on sound and just layer some different sounds of this pedal. Now, this pedal is not really a chorus pedal. It's not really a flange pedal. It's not really a phase pedal. It kind of does its own thing. And as you can tell here, there's no knobs. So you just get kind of 4 presets that go from kind of a light rate and a light depth all the way up to number 4, which is a lot of rate and a lot of depth. But the interesting thing about the original pedal and the rack mount unit is that you could press multiple buttons to get different sounds that are kind of in between the others. So while I can press 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, I can also press 1 and 2 at the same time, or 1 and 3 at the same time, etc. And I'll have to be honest, the sound changes are really subtle. If you turn it off, turn it on, you can hear, but comparing them, you can tell, okay, some of these are a little more, the rate's higher and the modulation has a little more depth. But for the most part, it's meant to be a subtle effect. I find, depending on the instrument and depending on the setting, that subtleness can kind of be more pronounced. So for instance, and I've done some demos on the bass, there's a video of that. I'll link that below in the description. It's a little more dramatic sounding, only because the bass is kind of just plays in one part of the frequency. With the Mellotron, it is slightly more subtle because there's more going on, and that makes the differences between the presets a little harder to discern. So certainly you can tell the difference between 1 and 4, but 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 can be a little more of a splitting hairs exercise. But let's play some sounds and you can hear what I'm talking about. For the Mellotron, I'll be using a couple of sounds from the M300, strings A low and strings A high. So here's strings A low. Make sure that's off. Again, on GarageBand, a little bit of spatializer because it's not a stereo effect, although we are running Dimension C in stereo. Teeniest bit of reverb, but for the most part, it's going to be a lot of this effect. Anyways, strings A low, Mellotron M300. And then the high. Let's put them together. All right, let's turn on the pedal. So dry sound, and then I'll put it on to preset number 1, button number 1. So you can hear the difference, definitely a little more dramatic. Let me play 1, and then I'll move to 2, then I'll move to 3 and 4, and you can kind of hear the differences there. So each of the buttons just kind of gives you a little more, right? It's a little wider, a little deeper. Let me start with 1 again, and I'll just play some of the kind of in-between variations like the 1 and 3, the 2 and 3, things like that. And you can hear the differences, I guess. I'd have to go through every little iteration, pause, and play the clean. It's, again, very cool effect. I love this effect, but it gets a little bit hard to tell the difference between all the different combinations. Here we go with 1 again. So we got 1 and 3, but is that much different than 3? A little. Let's try 1 and 4. So definitely more than 1. Let's get 1 and 4 again. Is that more than 4? Maybe a teeny bit. All right, so as you can hear, there's a lot of different variations here. Where I find that the in-between, or am I going to do 2 or 3, is more instrument dependent. So particularly if I'm playing in a band situation and on bass, if I'm on number 1, it's really dramatic. And on the Mellotron as well, but start adding a couple of instruments in, and one just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. I have to go up to 2 or 3, then from a solo perspective, and maybe even 2 and 3 just for lack of a better term, comping on the Mellotron, right? When there's a lot of other instruments going, that modulation gets lost. So that's kind of the walkthrough of everything. What I'd like to do now is a jam. Again, I'll be using Gauss. And what I'll do is, like, for different layers, I'll just press the different buttons. Enough of my yapping. Let me just get into the jam. I'll maybe go up into the M400, which is right next door here on the wheel, to do some solos. But let's see. Let me hit the record. I'll let that fade out. I tried to hit all the different button combinations, or at least as many as I could remember during the jam, just so you could hear the difference between some of the sounds. It definitely goes from a more of a milder modulation to, you can definitely hear the faster rate and the faster depth on number 4. I tend to stick on 1 and 2 for a lot of things. I did use a lot of the different sounds within that jam, also because the way they start interacting with each other just builds up this nice soundscape. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and good luck with your own music.